So this has a lot of places that are not yet in the data set. So this is one of the voyages that was made in, it was made in 1773, and it doesn't take the San Bernardino route. This is this galleon. So it's interesting because it's a private ship that is somehow, lent to the service of the crown. And it's making the voyage not through San Bernardino, the traditional route that takes 5 months, not through the new route through the north of Luzon, but it's actually going through the south, through Mindanao, and it reaches Papua New Guinea. And then, unfortunately, the navigation diary of the pilot ends, and then we get like an addition from someone else in the voyage who doesn't describe any of the dates or give any coordinates. It will be interesting to see this. So this very long voyage, I'm going to zoom out, gives us good examples for this new route point information. I'm going to zoom in now. So here, when you click on a route point, you get to enter all this other information, right? So if it's a log voyage, you get arrival and you get the time, if it's possible. I've created a template that has all this information, which it's already uploaded to the knowledge base on the MS Teams. So I'm not necessarily going to go over all of the fields here, but this allows us to have the location here as a route point, right? Route point specifics. It says that it's the Barra de Manila, right? Or if it doesn't really reach that point and it's like we're 2 miles away from this point, that's where you can write it. Anything that sort of specifies that information. Then, especially looking at these log voyages and these routes, this allows you to include a source quote and also a source remark, which would be something overall, or it might be the translation of the source quote if you wish to include that. If for some reason you want to specify the volume or the page, and it's missing from the cross-references, you can enter that detail here, but it is the cross-references that are the citation. If you write the citation here and you don't write it in the cross-references, it doesn't count. The database is never going to find it. Okay, then it allows you to enter depth, wind, right? So the direction of the wind and the quality, we know that winds have names, right? Vendavales, terrazones. Current, sometimes I've seen it in this log voyages as the minimum and max and the unit, so 5 to 7 millas per hora, miles per hour. And if there's a reported coordinate, even if it's just the latitude, then you can enter here. Why is it giving 2.34? I have to figure that out. Okay. Then here, this field, thinking of Mathieu, is supplies or repairs, right? So there you can say, if it's a log voyage, this is where they pick up water, or this is where they pick up some other supplies. In the case, I'm gonna search this. In the case, let's see what we have. In the case of these points, I think they stop in Mindoro to do that. No. No, supplies and repairs. Well, if you look at the template for this voyage, you will see it will be easier to find it. No, we could do it actually. This is one of the least user-friendly parts, but if we go to movement locations, and we try and find that field, it's now a very crazy table. Supplies. Okay, here we have supplies. So I'm gonna run a search. Okay, and just see what we have. So on this voyage that we have, they stopped at Rada de Antique and in Zamboanga for repairs and water. But I just did that search. That is the only place where they've done this. So I've answered your query before we even got there. Okay, that's all we have. If it's a route, this is going to look slightly different. So I'm going to do route for now. That supplies field can help if it's a route, because if you know from the rudders that that is a place where they usually stop for water, you can write it there. So now I'm going to actually, this was a log voyage. So we're going to look for a route. Why, this is a mistake. This should be a voyage. Okay. Okay. So here we have, no, that doesn't have it. Okay, so here is one of Elka's routes. This is the one that I experimented with, having both the label and the Chinese, right? Trying to think of ways to make them more user-friendly. Let's go back to label. And this one has, at every point, the distance and the unit and the direction. And this one should have the degrees. Oh no, that's because it's the experiment. This one has the degrees, right? Which are calculated based on the, oh, where is this? Well, which are based on the Chinese used by the rudders that Elka uses. But here it just shows them in degrees. And that's what it would show in the case of a Western voyage, so that they look the same. And I imported this compass points table so that if you want to give the direction in any of the 200 and whatever points that exist, you can just enter that and it will calculate it as degrees. Thinking of Pierre Yves and anyone who wants to enter routes. Okie doke. What else do we have here? So if you see here, this is slightly different, this panel with information, because here you can have the route ID and you can have the title in Chinese, maybe a title in a Western language if we want to have translations. If Pierre Yves wants to give names to his own, the option is there. And I'm going to, so here we have supplies and repairs, signs of land that seem to be very useful for the 30 or so galleon log voyages that we have from the British Library. It seemed to be very crucial when and at what coordinates they found that, but it's not entered. Captured by is associated to, the calamities that is ship capture. And now we're going to look at this calamity field. And this is what links the calamities table to the route points table, to the movement's location, right? Because when we have this kind of calamity event, we need a place and a time. And these route points have the place and the time. So let's do a search. Okay. Angela, what calamity should I look up? Are you speaking as if she was very far away, which she is? What calamity are you interested in? That is already on here. So we have here, I added the ones that...
Typhoon, maybe. Let's take typhoon or epidemics.
Okay. Yeah, so I've done something for typhoons. I'm just gonna pick typhoon. Okay. Perform find. Okay. And here it has a typhoon. Is this something that you entered, Angela?
Seems so, huh? Or
okay. So we can go over how to enter this, but this would be the source code here, right? And these numbers would be the remark, but they... Well, we can look at this later, but the typhoon is at the origin, because this would tell us that the typhoon occurred in Manila.
How did you search it? Typhoon.
So what I did is, what you can do is go in this layout.
Yeah.
Go to search, and then calamity, and you get all the calamities, and you can either start writing them. But we have to look at that one because it's and some of the other calamities. I'm going to show you another typhoon. So, okay, so this is one of the ones that I've adapted for the MGDB. And so here, this actually has two calamities because it suffered it went through a typhoon, that is the wreck cause, and then it was wrecked, right? So it has this calamity here, typhoon, and in this other route, the same place, but another route point, it has shipwreck. But so far, the ships that have calamities, just use this, use the handy dandy. And we have 112 voyages that have calamities. But we have to be very careful as to how we're going to continue to code them, because otherwise it's not really clear what happened and where, right? So for example, one thing that Angela put in, I had to create a calamity for it. Ship provision shortage, I called it. And here I had to do something kind of crazy because that's what's happening with these calamity voyages. They don't fit the original very linear structure that we had. And so we have to get creative. And so here, you had it differently. You had the calamity here in Acapulco, right? And what happened... So the entire quote about what happened was in Manila, right? And in reality, the calamity, the ship provision shortage happened in transit as they were in the open sea. So now we have these weird locations, which are like open sea, North American Pacific, open sea, South China Sea, which are nothing, but we have to have something. So the calamity is here. It happens in transit that the people died, right? And here you can put the people that died, right? And to be able to see this, I've added these emojis. Just as I've added the emojis for any meteorological. So if you see a little wave, it's because it's a meteorological calamity, right?